So the entire proceeds of the IPO is in two forms. One is the fresh issue of 120 CR and the OFS of around 46 lakh shares. So 120 CR we are going to utilize in two ways. Number one, we are going to set up our security operating center at Mahape. So we are going to buy a lot of equipments for the SOC, and that's where the utilize of the money will be utilized. With this SOC, we'll be able to operate in the entire global space. That's the number one proceed use. Second use is for a device as a service, which we call it as a DaaS. So most of the customers are using the machine, in a capex form. We'll be using it from the consumption-based model. So it will be devices plus our services on top of it, which will able to get the more and more consumption for the customers, and more customers will be able to adopt. So these are the two primary usage of the IPO proceeds.
Right. So other than these IPO proceeds, what kind of capital expenditure are you looking forward to incur, say, within the next 2 to 3 years in the long term? I see that one of your purpose is to purchase the office premises worth around 10.5 crore rupees. So what kind of capital expenditure are you looking forward for the coming 2 to 3 years?
So as I mentioned, the capital expenditure will be setting an integrated NOC and SOC center, which is a state-of-the-art center, where we are going to give the managed services, security services from these integrated NOC and SOC. Number two, for the DaaS, we'll be owning the equipment. So the entire financial operations will be done by Orient. We'll be topping up with those devices, our services, and presenting it to the customer as a device as a service. So mainly the purpose of this CapEx is for that.
Right. Okay, coming to the business of Orient Technologies, right? I mean, your business is largely set, correct me if I'm wrong, into 3 buckets: IT infrastructure, enabled services, and cloud and data management services. So can you just give us a brief idea about what kind of outlook have you set for these 3 buckets, and will your major focus be on any one of these buckets, or is it distributed within all these 3 segments?
So you rightly mentioned our business is divided into 3 parts. One is, of course, IT infrastructure solutions. Number 2 is IT infrastructure services. And number 3 is new age technologies, which is cloud and data management. So, of course, we'll be focusing more on the services piece. Secondly, the new age technologies, where the cloud and the digital transformation, which is happening in a huge way after COVID. And most of the customers are adopting digital transformation more and more. So we'll be getting into those businesses of analytics, mobility, RPA, and of course, cloud. We have a lot of operations like DevOps, SecOps, and FinOps. So we'll be doing more and more cloud migration from the on-premise to cloud. So these are our focus areas. To bundle along with it is, of course, our managed services. And managed services is the piece where we are focusing more and more.
Right. So managed services is the piece which you are, maybe will focus more on than the other 2.
That's right. Absolutely.
Right. So in terms of cloud segment, are you expecting or do you see any kind of threat from competition? Because, these days IT companies have clients which are cautious on their budget and not really spending on these kind of transformational deals. So in terms of cloud segment, do you see any kind of competition coming from the big IT companies?
So cloud is where you get the flexibility for the customers. They use as per their consumption. So when their business is in the growth mode, they will use more and more cloud infrastructure. When the business is down, they can relinquish their infrastructure and they can reduce their billing. Number 2, you don't have to pay in CapEx. It's more of a consumption base. So as you grow, as you earn money from your business, you can keep on paying. So there is a lot of flexibility in the cloud. There is a lot of agility. You can just start your any workload on the cloud from within hours, so that you can able to give users more and more so the business can convert very soon and get the more and more revenue for the organization with the help of cloud. I don't see the competition coming from the big IT players. Yes, there are people who have set the cloud like Amazon or Microsoft or Google. They are of course there, but they are setting up the cloud. The services on top of it will be provided by the people like us. So I don't see much competition, at least in India. And services are something which is every customer needs today.
Right. So the Amazon and the Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, etc., which you mentioned, these are the hyperscalers which you're essentially talking about. So you don't. Right. So you don't see any kind of competition from hyperscalers. But what about the Indian companies? The Indian companies which are already providing cloud services?
Very true. So Indian companies are there who are providing various cloud services, but the adaptability of cloud is increasing exponentially. If you see the adoption of cloud is increasing by around 70 to 80% year on year, and more services are required. So the more the players is better.
Right. Got that, Mr. Sawant. Let's move on to talk about the margin expectations. Margin for FY24 was around 9.5%, and that for FY23 was around 9%. So any kind of, if not a particular like a number for the guidance, can you just qualitatively give us a range wherein you expect the margins to come in within the say next year or next 2-3 years?
So if we focus more on the services and the new age technologies rather than IT infrastructure, of course, IT infrastructure, we are trying to move from a CapEx model to the DaaS model. So naturally, it will come as a services. With the services, I think the margins are far better. On the new age technologies, also the margin is still better. So with these two, the concentration, the mix of products and services, if we do well, I think we'll be able to get minimum 20-25% margin more year.